Russia is furious with Türkiye for them taking down Syria, and there's nothing Russia can do about it. For years, Türkiye was upsetting the West by being so friendly and welcoming to almost anything Russia had to introduce. For the past 2 or 3 years, even though Türkiye denounced what Russia did in Ukraine, there were a lot of trade deals that kept growing between these two countries. And for the same period of time, Türkiye kept denouncing NATO's partner, Israel. In fact, they cut relations with the country about 3 weeks ago. But one point of contention that always persisted between Türkiye and Russia was that Türkiye did not approve of the Assad regime and they wanted them out. Russia desperately wanted to keep Bashar al-Assad in power in Syria because they rely on that country to host a lot of their troops, for weapons manufacturers, but also for the only access to the Mediterranean Sea. And now that's all gone. Türkiye was the largest backer of the Syrian resistance groups that just toppled the army. Turkish foreign minister said that we paved the way, that Turkey negotiated the fall of Assad with Russia and Iran. They pretty much told Russia and Iran to not interfere in whatever their troops did, and both countries accepted it. Foreign minister even said that they helped develop and train the rebels who toppled Damascus. What Türkiye did was help defang Russia and Iran's influence in the Middle East. I've made posts for why it's so bad for Russia and Iran and other countries, and I'll attach it to this video. But what's most surprising about this is that Türkiye, even though they did condemn Israel left and right, pretty much coordinated the fall of Russia and Iran's key partner in the region. While Türkiye trained and deployed the troops who helped take down the Assad regime, Israel and the United States both coordinated air and missile strikes to take down Syrian weapons manufacturers, and it was the Israeli Air Force that took out every single airplane in the Syrian Air Force. Again, there is nothing that Russia and Iran can do, because Türkiye is still in NATO, and an attack on any NATO country means you fight every single one of them, and there are 32 of the most powerful countries on the planet. And like I've said in an earlier post back in September, that Türkiye was going to backstab Russia, because Türkiye's President Erdogan doesn't really have any other loyalty aside to himself and his ability to maintain and grab more power. Erdogan could not have pulled off what he did with Russia and Iran if he did not already have their trust, which was very easy to gain. Condemned NATO and other NATO partners, he made friends with NATO enemies, or at least close rivals. He convinced Russia's and Iran's leadership that even though he was with the enemy, he was actually more on their side. And the gambit succeeded. Türkiye has now stepped up to a higher role of being one of the biggest power brokers in the Middle East. And remember, this is a NATO extension. Türkiye's influence growing in the Middle East means NATO's influence is doing the same thing. One detail I want to keep in mind with Türkiye and Russia's naval base in Syria. Türkiye was not a fan of having that Russian naval base right at their south, being able to access the Mediterranean and then come around and reinforce the Black Sea. And as published 4 days ago, satellite photos show Russian Navy exodus from Syria. It would be no surprise if the Russian Navy had no choice but to deploy their ships back into the Black Sea, which is one of the least safe places for them because the Ukrainians are really good at sinking Russian ships. Who knows, maybe the Montreux Convention, which allows warships to return home to their own bases, will allow Russia to transport their ships safely back home. Maybe, just maybe, Türkiye will let them sail their ships along Türkiye's northern coast and go back to Russia with minimal Ukrainian interference. But long story short, Türkiye cooked Russia, and Russia just has to smile and nod to it, because they will most likely need to go across the northern Turkish part of the Black Sea to get back home. They rely on Türkiye to buy their oil. They rely on Türkiye to buy some of their weapons, and they also rely on Türkiye's help to have whatever influence they still can in Syria, if it's possible. I am the Geo Husar. I am not the biggest fan of Türkiye's President Erdogan, but he has played an incredible form of statecraft against Russia. Thanks for watching.